and we are implementing this project in the 4 states of India. Those are Punjab, Haryana, and Odisha and Chhattisgarh. Punjab and Haryana are the part of Gangetic Plains, and in Haryana and in Chhattisgarh and Odisha, we are working in the hilly terrains. But we are working mainly with the rice and wheat system. So making the rice and wheat system more sustainable, because the present practice is more with the transplantation rice, paddling rice, which emits lots of methane. So we are trying to find out a solution to convert this transplantation method to the direct seeding method, thereby reducing the greenhouse gas emission, and also how to control the indiscriminate use of chemical fertilizers, as well as the groundwater extraction for irrigation purpose. Because in Punjab and Haryana, the paddy cultivation is dependent mainly on from the groundwater. So there is a lot of extraction of groundwater, and which caused the depletion of groundwater level in both the states, which is in alarming level. So now
Mm.
we want to check that, and we want to convert the farmers to the direct seeding method to rejuvenate the groundwater level. So these are the main objective of this particular project. But at the same time, you can understand that in a democracy, it's not always possible to force anything. So how to make the farmers understand the negativity of these environmental effects and everything. And so we are trying to do that. Even government is also providing incentive to the farmers to convert from this paddling method to the direct seeding method. So
Right.
even I think there are some good examples in some Asian countries like Vietnam and Thailand. They have successfully transformed their system of rice cultivation from paddling transplantation to the direct seeding. Even I also joined so that we'll be able to learn something more on that particular method, what they have like adopted, and how they have motivated the farmers to convert, and even if they are able to provide farmers any kind of premium, because when they are shifting there are some production loss in the initial years. So how to manage all those things.
Mm. Yeah, I understand. So, how would you describe the current state of farmer support services? Um, and what motivated you to join this session today?
Yeah, I have already told, because I also want to learn from other countries how they are motivating the farmers, because we
Okay.
are also facing challenges from the farmer, because if there is a income loss, then who will compensate that?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, because this is basically a technical support project from the FAO side, or from the
Yeah.
GF funding. We can provide the technical support, but we cannot provide any in-kind support or the monetary support to the farmers if there is a loss during this transformation from the paddling method to the DSR method.
Right. And how would you describe then the current state of multi-stakeholder collaboration and inclusion of the farmers in that?
Yeah,
Are there
that is, yeah.
cooperatives? Are they grouped? And do they have ongoing dialogue with government, with private sector?
Yeah, basically we have engaged with the farmers and farmers producers organizations also. We are trying to rope in. And in case of Punjab and Haryana, there are farmers union also, because they are having a strong farming community in both the states. And
Hmm.
most of the people are there based on their livelihood is dependent on agriculture.
Yeah.
So that is there. And regarding private sector, we are trying to engage them, but at the same time, they are profit making bodies. So
Mm.
whether they want to be part of this transformation process and want to bear some burden, monetary burden of this transforming process, that's a big challenge.
Right. Yeah.
Because if there is a production loss for the farmers during transformation, then that produce should have some premium, because they are adopting more sustainable practices. At the same time, they need to develop a market for that also, where consumer willing to buy that sustainable produce with some premium. And for developing that market, the engagement of private sector is very much necessary.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then again, to develop a market, creating demand, all these required lots of monetary investment from that private sector also. So whether they are willing to take that kind of burden on them, because that might affect their bottom line also.
Yeah.
There are lots of complex issues related with this kind of project.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think there are a few things that might be interesting to explore. And I mean, I can speak to the experience that we've gathered in working with other countries on this topic. And there's a number of things that I want to share with you. So, yeah. So first of all, how familiar are you with the farmer support systems kit, so that I don't repeat any information that you already know?
No, actually, I don't know much about this farmer support system, which UNDP has, I think you have developed. Because in India, we are having a robust government system for the farmer support. We are having a Indian Council of Agriculture Research, that is scientific body in which lots of agriculture scientists is there. There are organizations in each district and block level under ICAR. Those are called Krishi Vigyan Kendra. Krishi is the Hindi word of agriculture. Vigyan is the science, and Kendra center. So in every block, we are having this kind of agriculture centers where agriculture scientists sit. They have their extension program. They provide the guidance to the farmers for any kind of new technology or new methodology. So that system is already there. And through our project, we want to fill the gaps only, so that the KVKs could be strengthened and they would be able to provide the knowledge to the farmers for this transformation process for sustainable agriculture practices. Now, I don't know what kind of global farmer support system is available in UNDP system, which can be adopted in Indian context.
Yeah, that's a really good point and a great question. So the farmer support systems toolkit is actually a tool that was developed. So it's context based, really. It's like a guide on how to on a way of, out of multiple ways, of course, but a way of looking at the current state of farmer support systems, perform some kind of diagnosis, and then do that in a participatory way, so involving different stakeholder groups, so that the definition of how that state of the farmer support systems are is in a way coming from the people and not from an expert looking from above, right?
Yeah.
And in a way that helps in the buy-in of this is the current state of situation, right? And these are from that you can build up and work on, okay, what are the priorities and what do we need to do to improve that? The second thing is, once the farmer support systems toolkit offers that kind of holistic view of what is the current situation, there's a second step, which is a problem-solving methodology or workshop that we facilitate that follows to the farmer support systems toolkit, where you choose one particular problem, like you were describing, right? How do we incentivize farmers to increase the sustainable development production practices what are the mechanisms that need to be in place, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and we get a group of, hopefully, if possible, representatives of different stakeholder groups, public sector, private sector, farmers, cooperatives, smallholder producers, and so on. And we get them to work together on what are the different solutions and things that need to be put in place. So in that way, the Farmer Support Systems Toolkit is a very sort of practical and very participative bottom-up approach to understanding what is the current situation and also providing solutions, but enabling the people that are part of the system to provide those solutions. So as you said, you know, that's how it ends up being tailored to the Indian context or to the Vietnamese context or to the Peruvian context. Because the fact of the matter is that these are just methodologies that guide a process so that the local context can really emerge, but in a systematic way, and that conversations can be facilitated in a way that bring solutions and change effectively, right? So let me just share a few things. The reason why this toolkit was created was that because from a UNDP perspective, when we were looking at the different actors coming together, we were noticing exactly what you are saying, right? That they have very different views on what farmers need, and perhaps not potentially listening to each other that much, and having also very siloed views. Yeah, the technical experts are looking at production practices. The Ministry of Agriculture is looking at policies that are most likely around producing more, increasing yield. The Ministry of Environment is looking at policies pertaining the land use and land degradation, or if you are lucky, sustainable agricultural practices. The Ministry of Finance is looking at how do we make agriculture more profitable. So, you know, each stakeholder is approaching production of commodities from their own perspective. And then what ends up arriving to the farmer, a private sector company, is looking at how to make cocoa production better quality, perhaps, or increase the yield. But that same farmer might be producing cocoa and coffee at the same time. So he 1 week receives someone giving them advice on how to improve cocoa that contradicts the advice that they received the week before on how to improve their coffee production. So all of these invited us to think about, okay, how can we contribute with some kind of tool or approach that can help bring more connection between the stakeholders and more coherence in a way. And that's why the Farmer Support Systems Toolkit was created. It is intended to facilitate multi-stakeholder collaboration and bring that kind of holistic systems view. It starts with this joint diagnosis of what is the current state of situation, what are the most pressing challenges that farmers and producers are facing, and what are the key opportunities to improve on the support services provided that are going to make the biggest difference. And so in a way, the idea of the toolkit is to help stakeholders come together under a shared vision of what is the problem and what needs to be done. And so like any framework, it has categories and topics and things that in the way in which the data is organized. And this is not the only way or a perfect way, but we did try to make it as all-encompassing as possible, when we look at farmer support services, what are the areas, the key dimensions that we need to look into to make sure that these farmer support systems are really trying to address the whole cycle of life and work of that farmer. So we have enabling environment, organizational and management capacity, advisory methods, budgeting and financing, M&E and learning of the farmer support services. Yeah. So this is looking at the farmer support services. Is there a proper aligned vision? Are there enough services provided, and are those diverse enough, or is it just focused on training or providing technology, providing seeds, but there isn't a, let's say, approach to helping farmers understand more about agroecology and why it is good to use less pesticides or less chemicals. Partnerships and linkages, so are the different parts of the system that are providing extension services connected with each other? Is it properly staffed? What's the level of skills, experience, how well managed it is? Is it providing good content and substance in terms of advice? How is this being delivered? Is it delivered effectively? Or is it just that there's 10 manuals that no one reads, and what kind of technology, and so on? Budget, so is it properly financed? How is it financed? How are the resources allocated? How are we measure, how are the system, the extension services measuring performance, whether they're providing good or not service? How is that impacting on the performance of the farms and the production? And is there some kind of learning mechanism for continuous improvement? So this is in a nutshell how the different dimensions and categories in which this diagnosis on the current state of farmer support services is done. Yeah. Any questions so far? Because I've been talking for a very long time.
Yes.
No, it's okay. I have got what you have said, like so far. Budgeting and finance, everything is there. Like it's basically analytical framework, which will help us to develop that farmer support system.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so the way that the diagnosis is conducted is that we use this, we use this analytical framework, and we create what we call an online survey that we either distribute to stakeholders for them to respond, or we do it on a physical face-to-face meeting.
But
where
we
we
have
ask,
already developed a kind of questionnaire, which is like you, because
yeah,
then it will help us to understand if we able to go through that questionnaire beforehand, like how you.
absolutely. And let me share with you just an example. I'm downloading the scorecard, and actually the questionnaire, the scorecard is also customizable. So we have a diagnosis scorecard. Let me share the screen so that I can show it with you. We have the diagnosis scorecard. And you will see that for each dimension, so here we have some information about like the scope in which it's being applied. And then we have, the different stakeholders that are participating and the joint assessment. So for component 1, policy, environment, and governance structures, we said we had vision. So we ask the different stakeholders, how would you rate the vision for national and subnational extension services? Is there a vision? Is it a solid vision? So is it good? Is it satisfactory? Is it limited, very limited, or none at all? And the interesting thing as well is that because we ask this question to different stakeholder groups, we get to aggregate the data per stakeholder group, and then we can see and compare how the public sector perceives the vision versus the farmers. And typically what you would notice is that perhaps private sector has a much more positive perspective on farmer support systems than the actual farmers. And that helps a lot in really sparking the discussion on where's the gap, yeah? But all of these questions and statements can all be adapted to a language and the words that resonate with your local audience.
May I ask one question?
Yes,
Regarding for none and very limited, you have scored both the 0. Why so?
Yes, because in the way that this has been considered is that if the answer is none or very limited, in a way, the rating should be 0. It's kind of not at the level that it should be. So that is why none and very limited have a 0 rating, both of them. But again, you know, this we can change and adapt if it doesn't.
Then rather than putting 2 separate columns, we can slash between none and very limited and score them as 0 and using a single column, because when we use enumerators for collecting this sort of information, that create lots of confusions among them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, there's a lot of work. I mean, the critical work in implementing this is going through the assessment and tailoring it, localizing it, to make sure that stakeholders, what they receive, they can understand and they can use in the most effective way. Yeah. So as you can see, each one of the components of that analytical framework that we saw has a number of statements, and there's different ways in which this can be applied. So there's an online survey that people can provide their input in advance, and then there's what we recommend is that there's a forum, there's a live session that's conducted where the results are shared, and then the discussion around the results is facilitated so that we can really get to help stakeholders have those conversations around what is missing, what are the critical opportunities, where are the challenges, and agree on this collective vision and action plan on how to improve farmer support systems and work on it together. That's why you can see that here there's these columns that say comments on discussions and recommendations for strengthening. Yeah. But the discussion doesn't have to happen on a sort of statement by statement level. We would probably do something more, more of, you know, trying to do some sense making of the data as a whole, or digest it a little bit more. So, for example, this statement, the extension services approach is largely farmer demand driven. There's existence of long-term political commitment or will for sustainable commodity production. No, not at all. Or yes, there is. So all of these elements really go into the detail of what is actually going on from a farmer support systems perspective. And we will share all of this with you so that you can have a look at it and have all the information available. Yeah. So out of this diagnosis process that, as I said, it can be done on an online survey and then following up with interviews, or ideally a forum where we can bring people together and host those conversations and really bring them into collective agreements. The second step is, once the priorities and the key challenges have been identified on what needs to be worked on more, what are the kind of problems that really need to be looked into in a deeper way, we move towards that problem-solving methodology that I mentioned. So the problem-solving methodology that we developed is related to farmer extension services, because what we realized was that the diagnostic tool was great to offer that sense, that state of that current state of situation. What is going on? Where are the challenges and opportunities? But in order to build more robust solutions, we needed to offer something more detailed that could help a small group, a working group, perhaps, really kind of break down the challenge into pieces and analyze it in a systematic way, and then come up with solutions that are applicable and context-based. And so this problem-solving workshop was created with that spirit in mind. And it's basically it's a live or virtual workshop that, I don't know if you've ever done something like around design thinking or hackathons. So these are very interactive sessions where there's a particular real life challenge that is described at the beginning of the session, and then the group is walked through different steps to first understand the problem more deeply and then come up with solutions that are realistic and applicable. And so this is basically what the problem-solving workshop is, but applied to farmer extension services. Let me share with you the structure here. I think this is going to be the most useful slide to share with you. Oops, sorry. Let me see if I can put it in presentation mode. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me just move there. Okay. So again, this is how we did it for 3 different cohorts. The number of hours, the duration, whether it's face-to-face or virtual, it can all be adjusted. We did it in 3 2.5-hour sessions because it was virtual. But if you do it face-to-face, you can basically do it in 1 day or 1.5 days. And so the first day is all around framing and analyzing the challenge, going deeper into understanding what are the root causes of that particular challenge. Why are farmers not feeling incentivized to do more sustainable production in their farms? What are the reasons behind? And so going deeper into really understanding what's going on. The day 2 is about understanding who the target audience is. Is this challenge about working with the farmers, or is it about working with public sector to put in place the right incentives so that farmers will take on the sustainable production practice? Who is our target audience here? Is it about the private sector also paying for a premium and really making the business case for why they should pay extra for a product that's produced more sustainably? Do we need to address all of those target audiences? So again, you know, one same problem can be perhaps addressed from different angles and dimensions. And so day 2 or session 2 is about understanding, in the solution that you are framing, who is your target audience? And then brainstorming potential solutions. And day 3 is about developing ideas. So choosing from that brainstorming which 1 or 2 ideas the group wants to take forward and really develop them to the point of having at least a draft concept note of what you want to do. So it's kind of that after the problem solving workshop, you need to leave from the workshop with a draft concept note that's already stating how you're going to start promoting the solution of that problem. That's why we say,
in this particular workshop, whether we are like engaging farmers also as a stakeholder, we are engaging farmers also as a stakeholder in this process.
Yes.
And in that case, whether they will be able to like prepare a concept note. Because I don't know, sometimes we work with farmers, they have a very limited understanding and sometimes they don't even know how to write.
Of
So
course.
in that case, how we can engage them?
Absolutely. And when I say a concept note, it's not the participants coming with it. So each group has a coach or a facilitator, usually coming from the project team that's implementing. So you, me as a facilitator, and we help them put into, if you want, these more bureaucratic terms of a concept note or a project proposal. We translate their input into that kind of world. It's not them doing it. Each table or each group has one facilitator that helps in that process. They don't have to worry so much about that.
No, it's okay, but sometimes what happens, because I have participated in this kind of like events and workshops, and I found that sometimes the coach is basically imposing his or her thought rather than
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's
Okay.
why we need to be very smart about the people that we choose to play that role. But yes, you are absolutely right. So we typically tend to recommend that coaches are coming from outside the ecosystem. So we wouldn't put a public official to act as a coach, right? Because there's a power dynamic there and sort of a certain influence in the agenda. Usually we have external facilitators. So there's a consultancy company that helped us develop these that we can hire with the right, if the budget is available, we bring external facilitators to the process. That's the ideal situation. And if there's no budget available, then we always discuss with the country office, what is the best option, right? Is it people from FAO? Is it people from UNDP? Is it people from any other agency that's involved in the project? A local external facilitator? But yes, it is super important that the coach is there to help translate what the group is saying into more institutional kind of frameworks. It's not about the coach deciding what the solution should be. Yeah. There's also another aspect of the facilitation and the coaching, which, depending on the audience, it might really be super necessary that it's a local facilitator because of language barriers and cultural differences that might make it more effective for the facilitators and the coaches to be local, 100% local. Yeah, no worries. Oh, please, it's okay.
Sorry, I was
No, no worries. No, I was just saying that to your point, in many countries also, we recommend for a local facilitation consultant or company to be hired, because the facilitation, due to language barrier or cultural cultural differences, it is better that it's done by local facilitators. So we can sort of do like a train the trainer of the local facilitators. And then the local facilitators are in charge of implementing it on the ground. Yeah. So this is an example of a final idea that came up in one of the workshops, where the challenge was how to bring the knowledge of the farmers in terms of farmer practices, how to register, document, and disseminate that knowledge much more in a particular area where they wouldn't be able to meet in person, because they were spread very far away, a very big geographical area. And what came up during the conversations in the day one of analyzing and framing the problem was that the farmers used radio a lot. It was one of the main things that they used. All day, they would bring their radios wherever they were going and listen to radio. And so the proposal was to, okay, why don't we use that power of radio broadcasting as a means to bringing that knowledge of the farmers to other farmers. So using the radio as a way of sharing that knowledge, and through artificial intelligence, capture it and transform all that oral sharing into guidances and videos and other tools where the knowledge was captured and really processed and turned into some kind of capacity building content. Because the other thing that was noticed in this particular challenge was that all the knowledge was transmitted orally. There was no writing coming from the farmers, in terms of documenting their learnings or journaling or putting together manuals. And there wasn't that much interest either in perhaps reading long manuals. Everything was happening orally. So in a way, the group came up with this idea of, okay, let's use that capacity to transmit knowledge verbally, and the fact that they use radio already as a way of having farmers express their knowledge, be able to share it with each other through the radio. And because we have artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence can listen to what's been said on the radio and really capture all that data and transform it into, first of all, document it, and then transform it into learning tools that can be accessible and more appealing and attractive to the farmers. So anyways, as you can see, this is quite innovative in a way, without necessarily reinventing the wheel, but combining different aspects of things that we know about farmers and how they share their knowledge, AI, all of this came up in this
That's
3
what
days.
I'm asking, whether there is any like practical example of that actually AI has been used to provide some kind of further in like steps or way ahead from that kind of interactive radio session? Is there any live example? Because that will help us to understand how actually it works. Though it sounds very exciting,
Yeah.
but some live example will also help.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So there are examples of AI being used to capture verbal content and translate that into videos, summary notes, training slides, manuals, documents, that for sure. This particular idea of using the combination of AI, radio broadcasting, and farmer knowledge, no, there hasn't been. I think there was one example that we saw here on the research, radio GPT, first AI radio, indigenous knowledge technology. Yeah, so there were there's some research that is done during the process of coming up with solutions. So I can look into it more into detail and see if any of these examples can help illustrate how that was done. But as you can see on the picture, it was kind of done in a particular indigenous community. And actually, I think it was in India.
Most probably from the attire, I also thought of the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll look into it and I can share with you this one pager if you're curious to see the link. But also, as you can see, you know, in this final idea, this is the canvas of the final idea. The name, describe your idea in one sentence. What is this idea about? How does it work? What is needed to implement it? Which stakeholders need to be involved? How could you start small? What would be a first version or prototype? Who is the target group? A visual of the idea, some links of the research, and then which aspects of the idea need to be further adapted and what would be needed the idea to be successfully implemented. So this is what we call the concept note from a problem-solving workshop perspective. It can obviously, it needs to be developed further to mobilize resources and all of that. But as a success factor for the workshop, every single group finishes with this one pager, whether it's on a flip chart or a digital one. They all finish with one of these as an output. This is another particular one. Yeah. So these are the two key things I would say that are linked to the initial conversation that we had around what were the challenges that you were facing and how could the farmer support systems toolkit help in that respect. Is there any questions or initial thoughts that you might have based on the information that we've shared?
No, it's okay, but I also want to use this toolkit first to understand how it will work in our context, because then only I'll be able to ask you more questions. And it would be appreciated if you kindly introduce yourself also, because when I joined, I think I missed that portion.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sole Riestra, and I'm the Effective Collaborative Action Lead for the Food and Agriculture Commodity Systems team that acts globally in UNDP. So my role is to facilitate all the processes and tools around effective collaboration, multi-stakeholder processes. So farmer support systems is part of that portfolio that I work on, together with effective collaborative action, which is another tool that we use to design multi-stakeholder processes. Yeah, that's my scope of work. I work globally with projects in Asia, Africa, Latin America. So yeah, so you can absolutely reach out to me anytime, and we can go further into the details of how to implement the farmer support system
And you are
toolkit.
based out at UNDP headquarters.
I'm based at the moment. I'm based out of Hong Kong, so I'm in the Asia region. But I also travel quite often to Latin America because many of the countries that I work with are there. So I'm in between Latin America and Asia. Yeah. And where are you based? Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I am based at India only.
Yeah, but in which city or
New
place?
Delhi, capital, New Delhi.
In New Delhi. Yes, I've been to New Delhi.
Come
Yeah.
again.
Yes, I would love to. I would
You can
definitely love.
visit our project also.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Absolutely. There's so much happening in India in terms of agricultural production, and it's crucial to learn from the things that you are doing, and also obviously the challenges that you're facing, but how things have been evolving in the last 10 years or so. It's been amazing. So yeah, I think it would be wonderful. And I'm sure my team would welcome that kind of collaboration with you. Uh, yeah, very
Yeah,
exciting.
because then we'll also get help from you because we are also having farmer field school approach. We are trying to like motivating the farmers, trying to make them more like understandable the impact of that environmental things which also affecting them because right now we are facing a climate hazards like smog in our capital city, pollution level is too high, so lots of things are there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But it's good because farmer field schools are excellent in bringing farmers together to really try to have that sort of collective knowledge exchange and practices and sense making that sometimes when smallholders particularly are working in their own farms, they don't have perhaps that opportunity to see how other farmers are doing things and how that can benefit them. So farmer field schools are very, very powerful in that sense.
Yeah, so we are mainly with that particular tool to engage the farmers. And also we are collaborating with lots of other scientific institutions because we are having a large scientific community, especially associated with agriculture because we have a large population to feed and government provide free food to almost 80 million people throughout the year.
Wow. Yeah. And what is the Jeff project that you are working on? You said Jeff 7, right?
F7 cycle.
So it's not FOLUR, is it?
No, no, it's FOLUR. It's a child program of FOLUR impact program, which is basically dealing with that sustainability of the food system.
Do you
And
have, yeah,
please.
you have the pro doc of that document
Yeah,
to
I
share?
have.
Yeah, if you can share it with us.
Okay, could you please provide me your email ID in the chat box? Then I will
Yeah.
send it to you.
And may I check with you also, so what kind of, what is the timeline of implementation of this project?
The project has started officially from 2023 and the end line is March 2028, but actual implementation started like 2024 April onwards because there
Okay.
are some hiccups, some initial recruitment was delayed and so on.
Okay, I understand. And so when would you envision, I mean, just to understand from a timeline perspective, if you were to use this kind of approach and toolkit, when would you see this happening? Is it next year?
Yeah, it's most probably during the next year from January onwards because right now the farmer community is very busy because we are having a two main cropping season. Okay, one we call Kharif, that is rainy season that starts from July onwards, and another is Rabi, that is winter season that is going on. So farmers are busy harvesting the rainy season crop as well as sowing for the next winter season. So they
Right.
will get some time in from January, February onwards because most of the fields are rain fed. So from March onwards, especially in the eastern part of our country, they don't have much land to like do the cultivation. Their cropping intensity is less than 200%. But in Haryana and Punjab, they are more advanced stage. Their cropping intensity is more than 200%. Sometimes they
Right.
take 3 crops in a year.
Oh,
So there
wow.
are lots of difference because actually we are having lots of differences in between the states. Language is different, food habit is different. Basically, it's a kind of small Europe what we are having in India with 28 states.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. That is fun. That is amazing. Excellent. Okay. And well, I guess in the pro doc, all the details are
Yeah.
also indicated. Do you have a specific budget that you want to devote to this kind of interventions, or how does that work? Because I know Jeff projects also are quite restrictive in the way that
Yeah,
the are.
we are having budget limitations, but we need to find out some way because we are having some budget for evaluations also and some schematic study also. So we
Mm,
can use those particular budget lines for doing this kind of activities. But again, I have to like approvals from the project coordinator, then budget holder like FAO in our case, which is the budget holder.
right. And are you partnering with other agencies as well? Is this an FAO-led project?
This
What's
is basically a government-led project in which FAO is the technical partner, and we are having partnership with central government in India and also the state government in 4 other states because we are having a federal system here, and the government is basically our operational partner, and we are also taking help from the like scientific institutes and agriculture universities in those particular states. And we have also roped in 2 3 private NGOs who will be help us, and then state government will engage some project specific staffs who will also like do the implementation work in the field.
right? And are you in touch with UNDP as well locally?
No, not locally.
Not locally. Okay. Have you spoken to them or yeah. Um,
No, we
have
don't
there
have
been
any link between UNDP India regarding this particular project.
yeah, okay. Do you think it would make sense to perhaps build those connections if there's anything that you want to sort of take on from this toolkit? Because I'm thinking perhaps the UNDP country office can support with facilitators or yeah, any kind of other
I am open to it, but we need to finalize the modality between the two organizations.
right. Okay. Is it a NIM project then?
Pardon?
So what is the implementation modality of the project? Being a Jeff project, is it a full NIM? Is it a
Uh, Implementation modality is basically we are having a central national project management unit. We are part of that. Then we are having state project management unit in 4 states, and each state have their own teams, and that's it. And we also rope in some institute like state agriculture universities, then Indian Council of Agriculture Research, and also some private NGOs through our FAO funding. And state also have their own budget, and they also contribute from their state budget also, which is part of co-financing.
yeah. Okay, perfect. Understood. Yeah, I mean, so in terms of next steps, if you can share the product of this particular project, then we can have a look at the details of it. And I think the next step as well, if you have any sense of timelines and budget that you want to devote to this kind of process, then we can tell you, how or in which ways this can be enabled and facilitated. As we said, I think in your case, you definitely would need to get some local facilitators.
Yeah, even in my case, there are, because I am basically a monitoring and evaluation person, but there are persons who are related with capacity building and all those things. So I need to discuss my team also regarding a
Exactly.
proposal.
Yes,
So if
and
we want to go ahead, how to go ahead, what will be the like procedures and modalities, so that everybody will be on the same board.
yeah, exactly. And we will share with you the Farmer Support Systems Toolkit, the scorecard. We will share the materials on the problem solving workshop. And eventually, of course, if we will sort of connect with the UNDP country office just to let them know, because as a global team connecting with you in India, it's good for them to know that we've been in touch, and so that we kind of do that in an integrated manner. So yeah, if there's any particular person or contact point from a UNDP India country office that you think that you've spoken before, or that you have any connections with, then yeah, just let us know, and we can sort of make those bridges between, because we are UNDP Global, they are country office, you are also country office, but FAO. So just to bring
Yeah,
in all.
we sit in the same building because this building is
Exactly.
called UNDP building only.
Oh, really? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, so better, yeah. It's good to bring people on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Is there anything else that we can help you with today?
No, I think it's okay. First, I need to discuss whatever you told, because I that time or in between also I have discussed bit with my colleague. So
Yes.
first I need to discuss with all of them to find out how they want to proceed, because if they want to proceed, then somebody has to take a lead, and being a somebody who is more associated with this kind of capacity building work.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're happy to share the pro doc, we can
Yeah,
start
I
reading
don't. I'll
and
share that. I'll share that. No
learning
problem.
as well. It's
Yeah.
good for our own
And I am requesting you to share that questionnaire what you have prepared, and if possible the presentation.
yes, absolutely. We'll share with you all now, right after the session. Yeah, do
And
we have?
whether the recording of this conversation is available in that link also.
We will share it with you. Yes, absolutely. And Ale, do we have email addresses as well to as part of the registration, or?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
provided
we do.
the email ID.
Okay, perfect. So
I can retrieve the Biotis email, no problem.
Excellent. So we will send you an email right away with all the details. Yeah, excellent.
Okay, see you then.
Thank you
Bye.
very
Thank you.
much. Thank you for your
coming.
time today.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been really great to learn more about your work. And hopefully all of this can be of service to you and to the project that you're working on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, ciao.
Bye.